Welcome to Maker's Corner Crafts. I'm Michelle Moncrief. Have you recently gotten a mug press or are you thinking about getting one? I absolutely love mine and I'm making a ton of mugs with it. In fact, I've been making a lot of mugs for my friends and family and they've been asking more for their friends. Today we're going to cover how to make mugs using Cricut's Infusible Ink in the mug press. We'll learn 3 ways to find mug designs in Cricut Design Space, and then we're going to make one of those designs. I'm also going to show you a free design that comes along with it and 2 templates that you can use to make your own designs. And if you have Cricut Access, there are so many mug designs to choose from. If you don't have Cricut Access and you've been wondering if you should get it, this is just another reason to consider it. There are hundreds of thousands of designs, projects, phrases, and monograms that you can use with the templates to make custom designs. Everything I'm going to use today I've linked below in the description for you. So let's get into Cricut Design Space first.
In this tutorial, I'm using Cricut Design Space version 7.10.163 on Windows 10. If you're watching this at a later time, you may be on a later version that looks different. So Design Space lets you make mugs on a desktop or laptop version or on the mobile version as well. Okay, let's go ahead and go into Design Space and take a look at the different ways we can find mug designs. I'm going to start a new project first. One way is to go into Projects and type in Mug Design in the search bar. These mug designs are available with Cricut Access. You can see the little A here up in the top corner for each one. You'll notice that a couple of them don't, and we're going to talk about these 2 in a little bit. The next 2 ways to find mugs is in the Images area. So I'm going to deselect Projects, and I'm going to click on Images. In the first way, I'm going to select Browse All Images, and I'm going to select Project Type. And notice here that I have 12-ounce regular ceramic mug designs and 15-ounce regular ceramic mug designs. These are installed when I register my mug press. So if you don't see these here, then there may be an issue when you registered your mug press. So take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and select 12-ounce mugs because I bought 12-ounce mugs to do for our demonstration. So notice all of the mug designs that show up. There's quite a few here, and you can scroll through and see what's available. Alternatively, and you could select both, but you can select some of the others, and you'll notice some of these are duplicates of the ones from the 12-ounce. Many of these mug designs come in both sizes. The other way to find mug designs, and this is the last one I'll show you, is to search in all images. So notice that I deselected the 2 different types under Project Type, and this time I'm going to go under Material. And under Material I'm going to select Infusible Ink. And under the search bar I'm going to type in Mug Designs. This is going to be the most inclusive search result. And as you scroll through, you can see, as I mentioned, that you might see 2 of the same item. If I click on the 3 dots up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see Dragon Small Mug Design. And on the next one, it says Dragon Large Mug Design for 12 and 15 ounces. You might also see some of the same mugs that you saw under Projects. And you may see some that you didn't see before under either of the previous 2 searches. Okay, let's go and find the free template and the free mug that I was talking about earlier. I'm going to deselect Images and I'm going to go back into Projects. And this time I'm going to type in Mug Design Setup. Under all categories, I'm going to scroll down and select Free. Now notice here that we have the personalized monogram mug. This is our free mug design template. I'm going to click on it And I'm going to show you that they come in different finished sizes. There's the 12 ounce, the 15 ounce, and then for the beveled mug. So when you select the personalized monogram mug, make sure you select the correctly sized mug that you're going to make it for. There is also a free template for when you want to make your own designs, and it's called the Mug Design Setup. You can find it by selecting or by typing in Mug Design Setup and selecting free, and it looks like this. I'm going to click on it and show you. It has a number of different edge designs. Right now you're looking at a straight edge design, but if I click on the drop down, you'll notice a number of different types of edges for the different sizes, the 12 ounce, the 15 ounce, the 10 ounce. So they have the small straight edge, which you can see right there. There's a ripped edge, which looks like this. A scalloped edge, which is kind of cute for cutesy ones. A wavy edge. And a beveled wavy, and so forth. So you can go in there and play around and look at them. Now, in this particular one, what we're looking at is it's designed for the Infusible Ink to go all the way around the mug, and the design and the letters are the negative spaces, so those are weeded out of the Infusible Ink. There is, however, a design that is part of Cricut Access. It's a template that's a part of Cricut Access that is the opposite of that type of template. And in order to find it, we're going to go back and select all categories, so no longer the free items. And in the search bar, we're going to type Drawn Mug Design Setup, which you'll see was right there already, only because I had deselected free. Notice that the Drawn Mug Design Setup looks like we wrote with pen on it. This is used if you're going to use Infusible Ink markers or pens, but you can also use it, for example, if you look at the pictures down here, for when you're going to weed out when you're going to weed away the Infusible Ink from the letters or from the design, and you're going to leave the design and letters on as the pressed Infusible Ink. And again, we have the small and the large sizes from which to choose, so make sure you choose accordingly before you select Customize to put on your canvas. Now you can find the directions for all of this on my blog post, which I've included below in the description. Okay, so the one I'm going to use today is called the Love Heart Mug. So in order to find it, I'm going to go up to the search bar and I'm going to type Love Heart Mug. And you'll see it's the first one that came up. I've just saved it to my little area here. That's what that little bookmark shows. And I'm going to select it. And I want you to notice that there's no drop down here. This time it's only designed for 12-ounce mugs, so it doesn't have an alternative for a larger size. This will happen with a number of the mugs. Now I can immediately go to make it, or I can select Customize. I'm going to select Customize even though I'm not going to make any changes to it because I want to show you a few things. Okay. The first thing I want to show you about this design is that the design itself is on both sides of the mug. This will not be the case with many of the mug designs. Why does this matter? Well, if you think about it, you have right-handed drinkers and left-handed drinkers. And sometimes you want those designs to face the drinker and sometimes you want them to face on the other side or away from the drinker. We mirror Infusible Ink, and the reason that we mirror Infusible Ink is because the ink goes against the mug. And so in order to have the design show toward the drinker, we have to think of it in terms of opposites. And so I'm going to give you this rule here so that you can use it this way. If you want a right-handed mug with the design facing you. Your design will need to be on the left-hand side after mirroring. So you know when you get to that point in the process where you select mirroring and then it shows you what it's going to look like, you want your design to be on the left-hand side. The opposite is true for a left-handed mug. If you want a left-handed mug with the design facing you, your design will need to be on the right-hand side after mirroring. Now in this case, it doesn't matter. We're still going to mirror it, but it doesn't matter because we have the design on both sides. So it will be both facing the drinker and on the other side. Once we have the design on our canvas, we want to make sure it looks just right. Now there's another thing I want to mention here. This entire design is sized correctly for the size of a Cricut mug. So we don't want to make it bigger. We don't want to mess with the size of it or anything like that. Otherwise, it will be inappropriately sized for going around our mug. Okay, let's take a look at the machines. Now, if you have multiple machines, then you're going to want to make sure to select the correct machine. Now, I'm going to use my Explore Air machine, but you can use your Cricut Maker 3, your Cricut Maker, your Explore 3, or your Joy also to cut this out. It's the correct size for a Cricut Joy. So just make sure that you cut your Infusible Ink or use the smaller sheets so that it fits on the mat for the Cricut Joy. All right, so I'm going to select my Cricut Explore family, and then I'm going to select Make It. Now remember I mentioned a second ago that we were going to mirror the design. So here I am going to mirror the design, and notice that the love design is now backward, and they also flipped sides. I know you can't tell that it flipped sides because they were on both sides, but they did. Also, if you're using one of the Series 3 machines or the Cricut Joy, you will need to select On Mat. Okay, we'll click Continue. And wait for your machine to be connected. If it has any problems connecting, of course, go through the usual troubleshooting steps. Make sure it's turned on. 90% of the time, I don't have my machine turned on. That's not 90% of the time that it doesn't work. That's 90% of the time I don't have my machine turned on. In fact, while I was doing this, I had to stop and go turn my machine on. So once it's all connected up, the next thing we need to do is select our material. And if you're familiar with this, you know we're going to select Browse All Materials, and we're going to search in the search bar for Infusible Ink. We're going to select Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet, and once we select that, we're going to click Done. Now, a lot of people ask about the pressure, and my particular machine, my Air machine, requires more pressure for Infusible Ink. I've done this many different times with Infusible Ink, and it always needs more pressure. You know your machine best, and so select the pressure as it works best for you. Again, make sure that you did turn on mirroring, and then when we're going to go prepare our material, and we're going to make sure that our material is ink side up.
In order to prepare our mat, we're going to need a standard grip or a light grip mat and a brayer and our Infusible Ink. Now I'm going to be using a large sheet of Infusible Ink for the cut, but the smaller sheets work just as well. In fact, they work really well. I just happen to have this color that I really like in the larger sheet. I'm also going to be using a sticky light grip mat. Now, Infusible Ink sheets feel like really stiff paper. They hold their curl really well, which can make them a bit tricky to lay down flat on the mat. Now, a brayer is really going to help for this. You may not have a brayer, but I've got a link down in the description for you if you want to pick one up. Everyone likes to prep their mat differently. I like to come in from the top and from the sides. You've seen people coming from the bottom and go up. But I do best when I come in from the top. Now, when you put this on the mat, I want you to try to touch as little of the ink as possible. We have a lot of oils on our hands that just don't do well with the Infusible Ink. So I touch the sides here, and if you're using one of the smaller sheets, you need to put it in landscape mode, so to speak. The longer piece needs to go across the top, and it needs to be shorter toward the bottom. So in landscape, longer across and shorter down. With the bigger pieces, of course, you just need to make sure that you at least have a longer strip, or a strip that's a good 11 or 12 inches across. All right, so I'm going to try this, and it can be tricky to get it on here because of the curl. So I'm going to come in from the side here. You can see here where the brayer really gets it down on the mat for you. You want to make sure to get these ends good and tight down. Okay, we're all prepared and we're ready to cut. Okay, so now we're just going to cut out our design. So we're going to load our mat up in here. We're going to press the arrow key to load it. And the go button, or with the little C, that's the go button, we're going to press that when it starts blinking. And we wait for it to cut. Okay, to unload, go ahead and just press the arrow button and pull it out, and that's all there is to that. Now we're going to weed the design. Okay, so now we're going to weed our design. You're going to need some scissors for excess material, and then you might need a pin pen or a weed pick as we go. Now, like I mentioned before, Infusible ink is really stiff. It's like a stiff paper. So it's better to weed with your hand rather than with a weed pick. But again, you might have some things that stick and that you might need to use a pin pen or a weed pick for. Okay, so at this template, we're actually going to be pulling the Infusible ink away from the design. So what we're going to do first is, you have these side tabs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull the Infusible ink off of the mat, like we normally do with the mat. I'm going to pull the Infusible ink off of the mat with the mat, pulling the mat off of the Infusible ink. All right, and the next thing I'm going to do is pop out the design from the Infusible ink. And you'll notice you can hear it cracking. It's because it's that stiff paper. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to peel the Infusible ink away from the design. Whereas with the other one, we would be weeding out the design and the letters, and the Infusible ink would actually be wrapping around the mug. This one is the exact opposite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start peeling off the design, the Infusible ink away from the design. In order to get it nice and easy to peel off, I might do some bending and rolling here to make it a little bit easier. And then I just roll and peel. And let the design come off. Now I've got some things inside here that I need to pull out that spell the word love. So I'm just going to kind of bend it here and pull out the letter. I'm just going to go ahead and do that for all of the letters here. Okay, so we've got it all weeded now, and we've got the letters and the design all done, and we're going to be doing this with the print side toward the mug. So that's why it's mirrored. Okay, now we're going to prep our mug. So we're going to need the following items. We're going to need our mug design. We're going to need some butcher paper or craft paper. We're going to need heat-resistant tape, our lint roller, and of course, the mug. Okay, so this is the most time-consuming of the process, and it's going to take a little bit of time here. We're going to be wrapping it up with the mug design and the butcher paper and using a lot of heat-resistant tape. But the first thing we need to do is clean our mug. So we're going to take our lint roller and we're going to roll our entire mug over completely to get rid of any lint or anything that's on the mug that could cause any problems with the sublimation. I'm just going to kind of be overbearing about the whole thing and just get everything off of there. Okay, once that's completed, I want you to notice that the mug design, the carrier sheet, is really sticky. Now that's great for the mug, but it's not, I don't want you to use it in lieu of the heat-resistant tape. You need to use a lot of heat-resistant tape, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But what you're going to do here is you're going to take this and lightly place it against the mug and pull it around. And you want to make sure that whatever you do, the ends are evenly against the handle. So I don't have it even at the moment. I need to pull it over just a little bit here. And now I'm way off. It is a lot easier when you have the Infusible ink going all the way around. I will say that. And that is just a little more. That's pretty good. All right, so I'm going to take one side and make sure that it's all the way down on the bottom. Okay. Make sure that, get that out of the way. Make sure that it's all the way down on the bottom and pull it taut on one side. Make sure that it's even and pull it taut on one side. And then take the other and pull it around and make sure that it's the same evenness. All the way across. And pull it around. Try to get all of the air pockets out of there. You want to get this design to sit tightly against the mug without any air pockets or any problems. Now, I will tell you, it is a lot easier when you choose a design where the Infusible ink wraps around and your design and your words are the negative space. Okay, I'm just going to kind of roll this over a little bit. And it's not going to stick. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to use some heat tape that we have here to get everything really nice and tight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some heat tape here underneath the handle to make sure that these two seams stay down. You know, I have to tell you about this tape dispenser. It's specific to heat tape, and it is awesome. And I have to give Angie Holden all the credit for this. I love this thing. It is amazing. I've put a link to it down in the description if you want one. If you're going to be doing a lot of mugs, I really recommend this. When you turn it, the tape is automatically cut into great little pieces, so you don't have to sit there and constantly pull it and cut it. Okay, so why am I using so much heat tape? Well, one of the things about sublimation is that you've got to get your designs really tight up against the mug. And That way that's why the design sublimates directly and as tightly against the mug as possible. So use a lot of heat tape, because the heat tape from a cost perspective is a lot cheaper than ruining a mug and ruining your infusible ink. I'm not going to do any on the bottom because my bottom is about 1/4 of an inch across on the bottom, so it's tied up against it, so I don't need to do any on the bottom. But if you were using a design where it went all the way around and the infusible ink went all the way around, I would highly suggest taping up the bottom. We are going to add butcher paper, and there's a reason that we're going to add butcher paper for sublimation and infusible ink both. The sublimation process, it turns sublimation ink into a gas and then back into a solid again without going through a liquid state. But one of the things that happens when it does that is the sublimation ink and the infusible ink, because it's the same thing, will seep through the paper that it's on. And if it seeps through the paper without you having something to soak up that ink, it will hurt the plate, the mug press plate. It'll hurt the mug press plate, and it will dye it, or it may injure it. So you don't want to do that. So what you want to do is you always want to put some butcher paper or some craft paper around the outside of the infusible ink or sublimation paper if you're using sublimation. It's a step that you don't ever want to skip. So it's just easy. You're just going to use heat tape, and again, apply it liberally. And if you want to use my sheets, I have this little template that I use, and my little template's too big. It's 15 inches around and 4.5 inches. Let me get my scissors. 15 inches around and 4.25 inches high. So if you cut that down a little bit, you'll get just the right size. And if you keep one, you can just use it as a template and keep going. I do a lot of sublimation, and one of the things that I have also is I buy butcher paper in bulk in an 18-inch round, and I have this holder on the wall. You may have seen it in arts and crafts rooms and stuff like that. And I use it to cover this wooden table that my husband made for me when I'm doing arts and crafts or any other types of Cricut crafts and so forth. And it's really great, but I use it for sublimation too. It's a lot cheaper than buying the Cricut butcher paper. So I recommend that. If you're going to be doing a lot of infusible ink, or if you're going to dabble in sublimation, I recommend going ahead and getting one of those. I'll put links in the description there for you for those too. You can take a look at them. Okay, I'm going to do a few up here at the top. And yes, I am using a lot of heat tape. I'm showing you how much heat tape I would use if I had a sublimation design that went all the way around. It's a little unusual for me to have a design that's just in one small spot. This is the most time consuming, like I mentioned, so it's just a little bit of work here, but it makes all the difference. Okay, so we got it all done. We got the butcher paper on, we got the mug design on, everything's over taped and everything, and so we're ready to go, and we're ready to press it. Let's go press it. Okay, so now that everything's prepared, this is the easy part. Let's get to pressing. Go ahead and bring out your mug press and plug it in. We're going to turn it on. I want to let you know it's going to take about 4 minutes for it to heat up. You can just turn it on and let it go. This on-off button is going to turn green when it's ready to go. And when it's ready to go, we'll put this in and we'll press it, and it's going to take 5 to 7 minutes for it to press. The mug press takes into consideration the ambient temperature in your room and the temperature of the mug, and it decides how long it will take for it to press. So that's why it's 5 to 7 minutes. Once we've done the pressing, we're going to take it out, and we're going to put it on either an easy press mat or some kind of heat resistant mat or a trivet, and let it cool for 15 to 20 minutes until it's completely cooled. Once it's completely cooled, we're going to unpack it and take a look at it, and it should turn out absolutely beautifully. So I'm just going to wait a few minutes here for this to turn green, and then we're going to put it in and we're going to press the mug. Okay, the mug press is ready to go. It beeped at us and the on-off button turned green. So we're going to go ahead and place our mug in the mug press. And there's a little tip and a little trick to this. The first thing we're going to do, and I forgot, is to get my heat-resistant glove. Now this is not something that Cricut has advised or anything like that because the handle will stay cool, but this heat plate is really, really hot. So I recommend going ahead and using a heat resistant glove in case you accidentally nick the heat plate with your hand. Okay, so go ahead and place the mug into, I'm doing this backward, into the mug press so you can see. And offset your handle just a tiny little bit to the left. And as soon as you do that, press down on the handle, and it's going to have a little bit of resistance, but not much. And go ahead and close it. And what you're looking for is to make sure that the design, in my case, the design is definitely covered, but make sure that the design is covered on both sides in this open area so that the design isn't showing in any of that part. And that's specific to when you have the Infusible Ink going all the way around. If that happens and you close it and some of that Infusible Ink is showing, just open it back up and pull the pop up on the handle and reposition it and then press back down and then ready to go. Now this will take about 5 to 7 minutes, like I mentioned before, depending on temperature in the air and that kind of thing. And what will happen is that the lights going across the top will progress and get to the 5th light. And when it's done, it'll beep and the 5 lights will flash. As soon as that's done, we're going to pop the handle up and we're going to pull the mug out, again, with our trusty little heat-resistant glove. And I'm going to place it right here on this pad. You might want to use a heat-resistant pad. I've got a link down for a big wool one. I use that for pressing all kinds of stuff instead of using an ironing board. But it's great for all kinds of stuff. I also use it when I'm making shirts. Or get one of these easy press mats, which you can get them on sale on Amazon, much cheaper than at the Cricut store. But I do recommend the larger one. Or you can use a trivet, whatever you like. But for me, it takes 20 minutes for mine to get down to cool temperature. Your mileage may vary. Okay, so we're just gonna speed this up and it'll be done in just a second for you. And then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so if you noticed, you probably can't see that there were 5 lights that were going across. Now they blinked, and then the mug press beeped at me to let me know it was ready. I went ahead and pull up on the handle and just pull the mug out and place it on the heat-resistant pad. We're going to leave it for 15 to 20 minutes, probably 20 minutes in my case. Then we'll come back and we'll unwrap it. By the way, you can turn your mug press off. So 20 minutes has gone by, and I'm going to go ahead and take off everything from the mug. And let's take a look and see what it looks like. Okay, one of the things that I really like about sublimation mugs is how shiny they turn out. I'm going to grab this paper real quick, take a look at it, because it does have some light areas, and that is by design. Okay, at first I was worried that I had air bubbles in there, the ones I was talking about making sure that we didn't have any, but the paper actually does have lighter areas, so that is by design. So here we have our mug. It is, you probably can't tell, but it's really shiny and really nice. And there we go. So that's all there is to it. So pressing a mug is pretty simple. If you can make a t-shirt, you can make a mug. I actually prefer pressing my own mug designs and using the template to make some phrases and things like that. So one of the questions people ask is, can we use other mugs than the Cricut mugs? And the answer is yes, but they need to be sublimation mugs. Sublimation mugs are mugs that have a poly coating. So sublimation ink infuses onto another object, and it's the poly coating or polyester coating that allows the ink to sublimate into that object. So you may have heard when you sublimate onto a t-shirt, you use a polyester t-shirt. Excuse me. The same is true of mugs, and it uses a poly coating. So when you go look elsewhere, make sure that they are sublimation mugs. Now, I really don't recommend Amazon. They're really iffy out there. This is specific to mugs. There are a lot of good tumblers out there, but I recommend somebody else for mugs. There's a lot of good retailers on Etsy actually for mugs, and then there's Condé, and I'm going to link those down in the description for you. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please like and subscribe. You can join my mailing list below to get information on new blog posts and videos too. Until then, happy crafting!